Hello lovelies, welcome to our channel Universal Movies. Today, you will be watching an horror comedy film called Jennifer's Body. Please subscribe our channel and press notification bell for latest videos. Disclaimer, this isn't spoiler content, watch it and stay safe. Anita needy Lesnicki gets a lot of letters, so much so that she compares the amount to be more than Santa Claus, Zac Efron and Dr. Phil combined. She's an inmate prone to hallucinations and fits of violence. She's a kicker according to her chart. That's proven when Needy kicks a doctor in the chest and she's forced into solitary confinement. Me wasn't always like this, she used to be an ordinary teenage girl until the killings began. Devil's Kettle, Minnesota is a town named after its very own mysterious waterfall. The Devil's Kettle, where objects that fall into it are lost forever. Even scientists have tried throwing balls into the kettle, but nothing has ever resurfaced. In this tiny town where most people knew each other, Needy is a dorky teenage girl childhood best friends with a popular cheerleader, Jennifer Check. They have almost nothing in common. Some even tease Needy about being in a sexual relationship with Jennifer, which Needy denies. One night Jennifer invites Needy to Melody Lane, a place that Jennifer calls a club. Nay's boyfriend Chip Dove doesn't want her to go, but Needy insists and shows off her friendship necklace that she shares with Jennifer. Jennifer then enters Needy's house intending to bring her to the club. Chip doesn't even consider it a bar, let alone a club. Still, the two best friends go to Melody Lane to attend a concert by an indie band called Low Shoulder. While at the bar, Needy and Jennifer notice a couple of classmates like the exchange student Amit and a football team member named Craig. And people who seem to have an interest in Jennifer like Roman. Jennifer rejects them all for Low Shoulder's lead singer Nikolai Wolf. The singer seems receptive to Jennifer's advances but talks about her potential virginity behind her back. Nee overhears Nikolai's conversation and confronts him, telling him that Jennifer is a virgin but that beats sleeping with creeps. Nee then finds Jennifer, who got herself and Nicholas some drinks. Jennifer says that she was not in fact a virgin and that she thinks Nikolai is interested in her. The band starts playing, then forcing their conversation to stop. Needy and Jennifer watch the band sing. Jennifer seeming giddy and excited to be watching the band live. After watching Nee lets go Jennifer's hand just before she notices a fire spontaneously igniting by the stage. She calmly follows it as it climbs up into the rafters and becomes bigger. Not even trying to run as is usual for horror movie characters. No one notices the brightness of the flames on the ceiling before part of the decorations fall onto a table, shortly followed by mass panic. Unfortunately, many flaming decorations and ceiling parts started falling, then crushing people and setting fire to others. It takes a few seconds for Needy to snap out of whatever is stopping her from running, but she eventually does. She pulls Jennifer to the bathroom to climb out of the window, though Jennifer seems shocked and dazed as they sit outside the burning bar. Nikolai joins them and coerces Jennifer into drinking and bringing her to his van. Nee objects, but she can only do so much without pulling her best friend from the band's van herself. Needy heads home instead and calls Chip, telling him that the bar burnt down and they have to go find Jennifer. However, before any decision is made, the doorbell rings. Needy goes down to check it out, seeing no one at her door. After a couple of minutes of walking around her house and checking out random noises, Needy finds Jennifer bloody and not talking in her kitchen. Jennifer then opens the fridge and pulls out rotisserie chicken, tearing it apart and eating it on the floor. Needy tries to stop her, but Jennifer lets out a monstrous roar and vomits black spiky fluid. Needy checks over her now laughing best friend before going to the house phone to probably call for help. However, Jennifer gets there before she does, pinning Needy to the wall and putting her face closer to Needy's neck. Before anything happens, Jennifer retreats and leaves through the back door. Nee is left to clean up the linoleum. The next day, the fire at Melody Lane is the talk of the class. Needy is silent and staring into the air. Still, Jennifer walks into the classroom completely fine, like the fire and everything that happened that night didn't matter to her. Their teacher, Mr. Lesnicki, enters the classroom solemnly, talking about the fire and the dead, including the poor new exchange student. He passes a hysterically crying student in a jersey tissue with his prosthetic hand. After the class, Chip meets with Needy in the hallway. She confides in him about what happened with Jennifer in her kitchen, but Chip recommends that she go to the school therapist. Colin Gray, one of the school's resident goth kids, approaches them to check on Needy as they continue to talk. Chip has a quick moment of insecurity, but Needy reassures him. Meanwhile, the hysterically crying student in a Jersey Jonas castle is mourning his best friend Cray, who died in Melody Lane. Jennifer approaches him trying to sympathize with the jock. She outright lies and says that Craig told her he wanted Jonas and Jennifer to get together, but this convinces. They sneak into the woods like normal horny teens. Jennifer and Jonas are making out in the woods, but Jonas is creeped out by the animals that started surrounding them. Jennifer pulls his attention away from the animals by stripping them. Still, before anything can go further, Jennifer pushes him to a tree with the force. Sorry, some sort of strong force or demonic powers, since Jennifer proceeds to unhinge her mouth and kill Jonas. In the distance, Mr. Lesnicki hears Jonas's screams. He investigates, finding Jonas' disemboweled dead body suspiciously being eaten by a deer. Back at Needy's house, the radio talks about how Low Shoulder risked their lives to save people from Melody Lane the night before. While Needy is making sandwiches, her mom confides in her about a nightmare she had about Needy being hammered to a tree just like JC, also known as Jesus Christ. As Needy and her mom have a bit more heart-to-heart, Jonah's body is wheeled out of the woods. His mother is sobbing and his dad promises to castrate the killer and pin it to his door like rich people's lying door knockers. Deeper in the woods in a lake, Jennifer cleans herself free of the blood she most likely had after she killed. Later that night, Jennifer calls Needy to tell her about her perfect day. Jennifer never explicitly says that she killed Jonas, still his death seemed to have made her feel stronger and invulnerable, as evidenced by Jennifer burning her tongue. Chip calls Niggy, then asking her to meet him at a park. When there, Chip tells her that Jonas was found dead in the woods with the fire in this murder. Needy says it couldn't have been a coincidence. On the other hand, Chip just wants to believe that there wouldn't be more. Devil's Kettle is a media sensation a month later with the cannibal murder right after a tragic fire. Everyone seemed to be distraught the whole month, all except for Jennifer. However, she looks pale and lackluster on the 1-month anniversary of the tragedies. Nee asks her if anything is wrong, but Jennifer says it is probably wearing off. Before Needy can ask about it, they're interrupted by Colin, who asks Jennifer out. She agrees to go out with him after Needy says she thinks he's nice. That night, Needy and Chip go to third base, while Colin drives to an abandoned building that Jennifer sent him. When Colin enters the building, which is breaking and entering only to see ominous candles spread out around the place, Jennifer appears behind him and coerces him into stripping. Still, she instead breaks his arm and proceeds to unhinge her jaw and kill Colin. Needy starts to have a vision, seeing blood dripping from the ceiling and the dead Jason standing with the demon Jennifer. Chip notices her panic and they stop the sex. Chip asks for what's wrong, but Needy never answers and leaves his house in a panic. On the way home, Needy almost runs over a bloody Jennifer. Needy swerves to avoid her friend, but Jennifer jumps on her windshield when she stops cracking the glass. Needy becomes so scared she speeds straight out of there to her house. She cries on her couch for a while, but Jennifer is already there when she moves to her bed. Needy freaks out, which is fully understandable, but Jennifer pulls her into a makeout session. Though Nee freaks out more after threatening to call the cops. Jennifer mentions she has the cops in her back pocket, but then tells Nettie about her experience with Low Shoulder. Jennifer notices all the occult paraphernalia scattered about in the back of Low Shoulder's truck. No one answers where they're taking her, but it's not too long before they're at the Devil's Kettle waterfall. There the band ties Jennifer up, and as usual for villains, Nikolai monologues about her impending fate. Apparently, the group wanted fame and fortune. They decided that the only way they could get was to sacrifice a virgin to Satan. The band starts to sing before killing her, providing Jennifer with a much more horrific experience. However, for some reason the death doesn't stick. Jennifer rises from the dead and walks to Needy's house, encountering a surprisingly alive on it. Once she realizes that no one knew Amit was even alive, Jennifer tricks him into following her and makes him her first victim. Jennifer never mentions any sort of possession, but it's not hard to figure out when she stabs herself with a stick and it heals seemingly without pain. She also explicitly says that she feels unkillable when she's full. Needy demands that Jennifer leaves her house, which Jennifer follows by jumping out of her second-story window. The next day Nay attends Colin's burial. His fellow goth has a sad and dramatic showing of their grief, which Colin's mom refutes with her own story of grief, and a comment that Colin's body looked like lasagna with teeth. All this prompts Needy to look through her school library's occult section, which they suspiciously have. There she finds many things like succubi and how to destroy demons, and especially the fact that impure virgin sacrifices make the sacrifice permanently possessed and creating flesh. Needy brings this up to Chip, who is very concerned. Unfortunately, Nay asks him to stay away from the upcoming school dance, but she's forced to break up with him to protect him. On the night of the dance, Chip is intercepted by Jennifer, who seduces him and outright lies about Nee's fidelity. Needy herself is waiting anxiously at the dance, seeing neither Chip nor Jennifer. Unfortunately, Chip is led by Jennifer to an abandoned pool. There are a lot of abandoned places in this town, but Chip is apprehensive about the abandoned pool. After more hesitation, Jennifer pushes Chip into the still-filled pool and feeds on him there. After realizing that Jen is after Chip, Nay finds them in the abandoned pool. Unfortunately, Chip was already bitten, but Needy pepper sprayed Jennifer with the spray Chip's mom gave him. This makes Jennifer vomit the black liquid again and then levitate out of the pool. After a few more fun insults and a line that implies Jennifer is bisexual, Chip impales her with a metal pole. Injured but definitely still alive, Jennifer escapes out of a window. When they are safe, Nee finds Chip on the ground, obviously starting to succumb to his injuries. Nee tries to call for help using his phone, but it's broken because of all the water it was submerged in. They apologize and declare their love for each other, and Chip dies. Needy gets back home, her dress torn, dirty and bloody. After looking at some pictures and changing her clothes, Needy breaks into Jennifer's room. They fight quite a bit and Jennifer manages to bite Nee's neck. Eventually Needy gets the upper hand, but Jennifer starts levitating. As they struggle in midair, Needy rips off Jennifer's friendship necklace, stunning Jennifer, who stops struggling. Needy proceeds to use a box cutter to stab Jennifer through the heart, killing her and destroying the demon. Jennifer's mom enters and finds Needy over her daughter's dead body, running in and cradling Jennifer. Needy is brought to a correctional facility, leading back to before the flashback, with Needy still in solitary confinement. She doesn't know who she is anymore because she's a different person now. Someone too different from the dorky teenager she once was. Especially considering she absorbed Jennifer's abilities after she was bitten and lived. Needy escapes the facility, finding a knife and a ball that looks similar to one of the ball scientists threw into the devil's kettle. Nee takes the knife and hitchhikes a ride, telling the driver that she was following the band, mentioning it would be their last show tonight. Later that night, all members of Low Shoulder are found brutally murdered in their hotel room. Nene is seen in a CCTV camera walking away from the room. Please subscribe our channel, turn on notifications and stay tuned for latest videos. Thank you for watching.